myself by choosing books that I liked better than other books. Maybe this will send you off with some recommendations, some anti-recommendations, or maybe it'll just send you to sleep. We're having a very slumber party type setup. I'm sitting on my bed, so you might hear fabric sounds. And before we're gonna get started, we're gonna light a candle. I have this vanilla spice scented candle. When I read books at night, especially, I really try to set the vibe. So I turn on all my cozy lights, I light a candle, and I make it a little bit of a sacred moment for myself, which I love. So I thought I would share that with you too. So this one has 3 wicks, which is amazing. I wish you could smell it through the screen. Sniff it. Smell. It's a little bit musky as well. Okay. I do not condone lighting candles on your bed, but it's kind of the only option we have. I'll put it away after this, but if this freaks you out, close your eyes. You won't be able to see, but okay. The last time I lit a candle in a video, it took me about 7 tries, but that's nice. Now I'm gonna put this behind me. I have a designated candle area, and we're gonna open up the tier maker. And this is gonna be so interesting. I've never done anything like this before. So, also, because this is a year ago, I might have forgotten some bits about the plots and get some facts wrong, but let's not be too hard on ourselves. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Also, our tastes can vary. I respect your taste, please respect mine. And let's have some fun, okay? Okay, I think we are running. Let's hop right in. These are the books that I read. I started reading again in, I would say, May of 2022. And I remember the book that I started with because I've mentioned this before, but I get a lot of my book recommendations from Jack Edwards because I feel like also noticing that I'm hopping right in without explaining the tiers. The top tier is would sell my soul to experience this for the first time again. So that's the highest appreciation I can have for a book. Then we have the exclamation marks because it was just silent scream because it's ASMR and I want you to relax. The middle one is it was enjoyable but forgettable, so just average, good time. I was entertained, but you know, if I forget about it, it's fine. Then the other one, a bit lower, is did I like it? Would I recommend? Sure. So those are books that are not up my alley, but might be up yours. Also, my bags are all over the place, but I'm in the corner of the screen, so. So I would probably still recommend for either the experience or the message in the book, or whatever. And then the bottom one, don't make me talk about it. Just pure hate for the book. I also noticed that the colors are kind of not resonating with what it's telling us, but anyway. So Girl, Woman, Other, I'm going to give it the exclamation marks because I don't feel like I would want to read it again for the first time. I just want to read it again, period. I highly recommend it. It's about identity, feminism, what else? Romance. It's about theater, art, politics. It covers so much ground. It's LGBTQ+. It's got a lot. It's got a lot because it's multiple stories and they're all so interesting and captivating, and I love how they are pretty subtly intertwined, the characters, and I love that. So yeah, I highly recommend you read the book. Next up, we're just gonna go random, I think, because I don't know the order from that point on. 1984 by George Orwell is a classic. It's a dystopian novel that follows. Okay, I don't remember the main characters' names. I'm sorry, because it's been a while, but it's really, really well written. It's ahead of its time. You've probably heard of the story in regards to the term Big Brother and about a world in which the only thing that's yours are your thoughts and the rest belongs to the government. Basically, they are listening to you when you're in your house. They have cameras everywhere, they're hidden everywhere, and it's about separating from that world, and everyone goes with the flow, right, of just doing their jobs and living a certain type of way. And the main character is very aware that he has his own thoughts, so he buys a journal, which isn't legal to have, and he writes things down, and he falls in love with someone who thinks in the same way, and then they meet this whole community, so to speak, they have the opportunity of meeting a community of people who think the same way, but it's all about, I feel like this is very similar to the experience you'll have when you watch Inception, the movie, where you're very confused and kind of mind-effed in the process. I will give this exclamation marks. I would love to read it again for the first time, but it's not at the point where I would sell my soul to read it again, but it definitely made an impact. I wouldn't say, though, that the type of story and the Paris, and they met there, and it follows their romance and their love story, and it jumps back to the time now, and it's about a fig tree as well, a fig tree that's special to them, and the book follows the perspective of the family, basically, but also from the tree, and it's about the energies that trees have and how the world is connected and the wisdom within trees, and that was so beautiful and interesting, and I probably did not do the book justice just now in the way that I described it, but it's very beautiful. However, for me at the time that I was reading it, the parts about the trees were just a bit too much for me at times. So at the time, I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads because I was just overwhelmed by it, basically. But I still think about this book so often that actually I'm going to rate it at the top with, I would love to have the experience of reading this for the first time again. For the purpose of understanding more of it and appreciate, I don't know, it stuck with me so much that I would want to have the experience again for the first time, because even though the few days after I was kind of like, okay, done with this book, it sunk in more and more over time, and I loved that. That might be weird, but that's how it was for me. Then, oh yeah, okay, so I read Conversation with Friends and Normal People, but Conversations with Friends was the first one I read by Sally Rooney. I'm gonna rate it as it was enjoyable but forgettable, because for me it was. I had a good time. I would definitely recommend you pick this book up. But I just didn't resonate with the characters as much as I did in her other books, so that's why I'm rating it there. But it follows Frances and her best friend, and they get involved with a married couple, and there is some affair stuff going on while also, I don't know, Sally Rooney's books always touch on romance, on politics, on life. The characters are very flawed and very complex, and she describes very mundane things very well, which I appreciate so much because it feels really real and raw. I also watched the series. I didn't watch all the episodes because I just wasn't feeling it as much. But I think they did pretty well. But it's strange because in the book you get to see into Frances' mind so well, and in the series you don't really, because it's not her inner dialogue that you see. So that was a weird difference I found. But I highly recommend the book. After that especially her, I guess, because I loved her way of her coming of age in, I don't know if the book follows, Marianne and Connor. I think his name is Connor. We're gonna call him Connor anyways. And Marianne is not a popular girl in high school. They meet in high school. They kind of start secretly dating because Connor is very popular and kind of doesn't want to be seen with her. But it's never in a very literal way where he says, I don't want to be seen with you, period. It's all very subtle, and I feel like that makes it all the more realistic. And when they go off to college, it's kind of a switch around, where Marianne is very popular and is very much settled into her new life, and Connor is really starting to struggle with his mental health and with loneliness and depression. And their relationship is very difficult and complicated, but they have a lot of love for each other, and a job in tech, I think. She's very wealthy, but she's almost 30. Her mom pushes her about wanting to have, does she want to have children at some point, getting a romantic partner. She's also on the autism spectrum, and she's very logistical about things, very analytical. And so she hires an escort, and that's the guy, and I think his name was Michael. I'm gonna call him Michael. And he is just the sweetest guy, actually. And it's like in Pretty Woman where they fall in love, and it's kind of, he kind of becomes her, it's kind of the fake dating trope where he sort of helps her practice to have a partner, but then they fall in love, and it's just beautiful. And I loved reading from a perspective of someone with autism, and the author herself is also on the spectrum, and her daughter as well. I may have mentioned this before in a video, but I'm still not sure if it was the author herself as well, or just her daughter, or both. But I would sell my soul to experience this again for the first time because I loved it. It's also pretty spicy, and the spice is good. So, then let's do Small Pleasures by Claire Chambers. And I can be really quick about this. Did I like it? Would I recommend? Sure. I forgot pretty much all of this plot. I remember that it ended very weirdly. It's about a woman who's a journalist, and she follows the story of a woman who gave birth to a child who she claims is not her child, conceived in a natural way. It's kind of like Jane the Virgin, you know. So the lady has a baby, but she didn't get pregnant from her husband, and she also didn't cheat, so it was, how did this baby happen? So she starts interviewing this couple about this story, and she builds a friendship with them, and then a lot of things happen that I'm not going to talk about because they're all spoilers, and because I forgot half of it, I probably won't do it justice. Claire Chambers writes about mundane things very well, and it's very tender at times, and really goes into small pleasures. But I just didn't enjoy it, really. Yeah, I don't know, but I still would recommend it if you want to give it a, like, sure, but there are better ones that I'm leaving you with, so. Let's do a TJR book. I'm gonna do Daisy Jones and the Six. I had a really good time, and I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, but they are forgettable to me. I'm gonna put The Seven Husbands there too because it's the same rating for me. I love them. They're great. I recommend them. Taylor Jenkins Reid writes books like movies. They are so captivating. I personally get so into them, and I can see them so vividly. But the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, for example, very entertaining, very fun. But if you would tell me I'd have to books because I would really love to read it again for the first time. I'll probably read it again in the summer period, but I wouldn't sell my soul for the experience. Looking at the other books, I honestly probably wouldn't sell my soul. We'll get into... I don't think I read one last year where I would... Well, there's only one that I would actually sell my soul for, but they are... I would really want to experience them again for the first time. So Beach Read follows two characters who are writers, and the woman moved into the house of her father who passed away, and as she is unpacking, well, she's packing up, but she's unpacking a lot of feelings and processing a lot while also writing a book. Her college rival, I guess, lives in the house next door. Who would imagine, right? So they start this kind of friendship thingy, where both main characters are kind of rude to each other the whole time, but they're hanging out all the time, and you're like, why? Because you don't, like, we know that there's tension there. Sexual tension. This is how I remember it, though it might be wrong, actually, but they kind of have this friendship thing, and they challenge each other to write in each other's genres. So it kind of follows their their upcoming romance and them writing those books and her unpacking things about her family. And I had such a good time. I loved it. I read it in the pool. I read it in a day. And I was just in the sun reading this and having the best time. So, yeah. Then we have People We Meet on Vacation. And this follows Alex and Poppy. And they were friends and always used to go on vacation together. Something happened. They're not in touch anymore. But Poppy asks Alex to go on one more holiday with her. I love the spice in here. For some reason, that's still very vividly living in my brain. Thank you, Emily Henry. But I resonated with the characters a little bit less than I did in Beach Read. Who am I kidding? I'm still gonna give it exclamation marks. Because I just had a good time. I also pre-ordered Happy Place. That's coming out in 2 days as I'm filming this. And I hope I'll still read it this month, but I'm kind of hesitant if I want to read it this month or if I want to wait a little bit. But I kind of want to read it before I read the reviews and see everyone talking about it. I kind of want to form my own opinion first. So I hope I'll include it in my April books, but who knows. reading. I'll probably have this book forever, and I'll keep opening pages up through the years whenever I feel like I need to look at it or want to look into something. But I'm gonna put it in the forgettable because I feel like there are other books that I think more highly of, if that makes sense. That sentence, I say it so often, I'm noticing. Okay, let's move on. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Enjoyable but forgettable. It follows Dolly Alderton in it's kind of a chaotic coming of age. A lot about parties, a lot about relationships, a lot about her friendship, which was beautiful. Her relationship with her best friend is precious, and I love how bluntly Dolly talks about jealousy and not being where you are in life, or not being where you thought you'd be, or not growing at the same pace and growing in the same directions. I love that. I'm gonna call it forgettable because besides that, I don't remember much of it. Just had a good time. I would still definitely recommend The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Gonna rate this as enjoyable but forgettable too. It's a very powerful novel. It's a story about a girl who wants to not be here anymore, and so she tries to do that and ends up in a very big library. That was my cat. With endless books, and in every book is a story of her life, and in this library every scenario exists, everything she could ever imagine her life looking like. Do you want to be a diver? Do you want to have children? Do you want to be a successful author? Whatever you can imagine, those timelines exist in those books. And this librarian helps the girl try out different books to see which life she'd like to choose, and if the life is really making you happy, then that's where you'll stay, and you'll stay alive, basically. And I think that's a beautiful story, and it's very much a message about how the small things in life are the things that matter, and I would really recommend reading it. I think Matt Haig writes very accessible books about big topics, but he makes them very tangible. So yeah, but forgettable in the sense that there are other books that I would recommend more than this one, I think also on this subject, but I still recommend the book. Then The Summer of Broken Rules. This is Visco Summer. Good time. This was such a good time. I'm just gonna give it the exclamation marks because there's nothing your young life, long distance relationship, music, and if you like poetry, if you like rap music, if you like art culture, I can't recommend this book enough. It's not long either, so it's just